Hello everyone, I'm Robert Lee Remigio and welcome back to my channel. We are now down with the final four personalities for our topic in the philosophical perspective of understanding the self. And that will be Sigmund Freud, Gilbert Ryle, the couples Paul and Patricia Churchland, and Maurice Merleau-Ponty. To begin with, Sigmund Freud regarded the self as the I that ordinarily constitute both the mental and physical actions. So when we say I, it will pertain to both our body and mind. Just like saying, I am hungry or I am learning. The I undergoes the process of continual change. And that is the reason why we find it hard to answer the question, who am I? As the I continues to change, our moral judgment changes, inner sensation changes, perception changes, as well as our bodily movement can also encounter change. And the answer to the question, who am I, is so diverse that you can base it in your moral judgment, sensation, and perception, which can change over time. Seeing the I as a product of multiple interacting processes, systems, and schemes, Freud proposed two models of the I: the structural model and the topographical model. The structural model represents the self in three different dimensions: the id, which is the instinctive component and the core of our being; the ego, which is a part of the id that has been modified by direct influence of external world, and it is actually considered as the I as Freud sees it; and the superego, popularly known as the conscience, who synthesizes the morals, values, and system in society in order to function as a control outpost of the instinctive desire of the id. To understand the interaction of the three categories, let me cite to you one example. Suppose that you are in a party and you are already starving or hungry and you see a cake. What will happen is, if your personality is id-dominated, you will then eat a lot of slices even if you are on a diet, as it is instinctive of a person to eat when one is hungry, or drink when one is thirsty. And the spoiled brat may be id-dominated since they are given things they need in a snap of a finger. For a superego-dominated personality, one will opt to starve his or herself because he or she is on a diet and don't want to get fat, and that person no longer wanted to go to a gym to burn the calories gained because of eating a cake. More so, people with a superego personality may be those children who are exposed with a strict parental authority. Well, it is supposed to be that the ego should control the actions of the id and the superego, like on the middle picture saying, okay, I will only eat what I need and give some to others, so there is no need to worry about gaining weight, for I can just do some exercises tomorrow. Unfortunately, the ego oftentimes is unable to manipulate the id and the superego. Although we are supposed to be ego-dominated, Freud even actually remarked that the id is the core of our being. In the topographical model, Freud divided the I into conscious and unconscious. An example, a drug dependent may be conscious or aware of his action, but at the same time is unaware that the reason why he got hooked with drugs is because of his life experiences. And it's only when the person finds out that such is the reason for the dependency when the drug-dependent individual undergone some counseling sessions. Moving forward with Gilbert Ryle, Ryle said that the thinking I will never be found because it is just a ghost in the machine. Thus, the mind is never separate from the body. Our thoughts should be manifested outside to understand the self. It needed to be verbalized and acted out, so the kind of mind you have then will depend on how your words are told, expressed, and delivered. Thus, an aggressive mind may be manifested through a violent behavior or a violent word. The concept of Ryle regarding the mind just simply imply that we are what we do. If for Descartes, we exist if we are thinking, for Ryle, we exist if we are acting. For him, I act, therefore I am. Now let's proceed with the couples Paul and Patricia Churchland. The couples Paul and Patricia Churchland takes their stand in their work Eliminative Materialism. I have many times talked already about the dualism of reality in my previous lectures, that the mind is separate from the body. The brain is an organ of the body, and our mind is the seat of consciousness. We cannot see it or touch it, but it exists. But it is what makes the self, self. For the Churchland, only matter exists. Things should be recognized by our senses in order for it to be identified as existing. If it is not, then it is just a mere fairy tale or an imagination. So for the Churchland, our senses can't experience the mind, and so therefore it does not really exist. Obviously, the eliminative materialism by the Churchland states that it is the physical brain and the imaginary mind that gives us our sense of self. So if one wants to know something about themselves, then their brain should be examined like undergoing a CT scan or an MRI. Finally, Maurice Merleau-Ponty phenomenology of perception revolves around the idea of self as an embodied subjectivity. Well, a subjective self is made up of physical body, because when we talk about the word subject, we pertain about the real thing, or something that can take real action and can cause real effect. And for Merleau-Ponty, subject thus exists, while rationalists stands in their belief that reasons or consciousness are the basis of self. Empiricists believe that the only source of knowledge is the physical senses. That if our sense is able to experience it, then it exists. For Merleau-Ponty, there is actually no dualism. The body is the mind, and the mind is the body. They are both interconnected, and both are the seat of knowledge and can give us our sense of self. The principle of Merleau-Ponty is actually derived from the idea of Gestalt psychology. And that ends our discussion for the views of Freud, Ryle, Churchland, and Merleau-Ponty regarding the self. We will be discussing another perspective in our next lecture, so I hope you learned something in our topic, as there will be more lessons that we will be tackling in our next video discussion. Now, if you learned something from our lecture, you can send your comment and share this video to the rest of your friends. And if you wanted to get notified for our succeeding topics, please do not hesitate to click on the like and bell notification and hit subscribe. See you in our next video lecture.